Hello, everybody. It's Tanya from Inner Astrology, and I'm just here to have a chat about Jupiter in Pisces. And I felt like making a bit of a presentation today about it. So you get to look at some notes rather than just watch me talk. So Jupiter in Pisces is going to be a pretty nice transit, and I feel like we need a bit of a nice transit, especially because at the end of the month, Mercury will retrograde in Gemini. We've got eclipse season. Things will shift and change. So it's nice to know that we've got something good to look forward to throughout all of that, and know that the power of Jupiter is going to be bringing us some blessings. So let's talk about the planet to start with. It's named after Zeus, the king of the gods, or Zeus is also Thor, depending on whether you look at the Greek or the Roman name. And Zeus would use his lightning bolt to, strike down those who misbehaved. So it was originally about he would choose what the laws were and what the morals were, and make sure that these were maintained. And he also had a very expansive energy, a very big sexual appetite as well for things. And it was a bit larger than life. And so the planet Jupiter, where it falls in our chart, it's all about giving us this extra larger than life energy. It's also the biggest planet in the solar system. It's 318 times the size of Earth. But scientists have estimated that if it gets any bigger, it wouldn't exactly increase in size, it would just become denser. Its magnetic field is 14 times stronger than Earth's, and it sort of sucks all the bad things from the atmosphere away from Earth. It has 67 moons that we know of, and it's a gas giant. So when we translate this to astrology, sometimes Jupiter, because it's so expansive, sometimes when it goes too far, it can be a bit full of hot air. It can also, it sucks negativity away. So that's where we get the optimistic side of Jupiter. And, it's all about growth and, movement. So there you've got the spinningness going on there. So more with astrology, it's known as the Great Benefic. It rules Sagittarius, and before Neptune was discovered, it was the ruler of Pisces, and some astrologers still use Jupiter as the ruler of Pisces. They use the traditional rulers. It takes 12 years to go around the zodiac, so every time it changes signs, you sort of have a new 12-year growth period in that area of your life. And it represents your inner guru and, where you find luck and abundance and optimism. So the placement of Jupiter in your chart expresses, how you present the Jupiterian themes. And then the transits of Jupiter, give you a little boost to where it plays out in your life. So we look at some of the positive aspects of Jupiter, its expansion, inspiration, optimism, vision, wealth as well, because we're all about growth and abundance here. When we have too much of Jupiter and we tip over to the other side, we go into excess, greed, zealotry, arrogance, and being unaccountable for our actions, because we think that we are wonderful and we don't actually go within our boundaries. It represents law, like we've spoken already, and morality, our knowledge and belief systems, and how we search for this in our own lives and create meaning. It also brings lots of luck and opportunity, and it helps us adopt things that are new and expansive. If we look to the sign of Pisces, the positive words associated with Pisces include like being a visionary, very imaginative, unifying, bringing people together. It's very compassionate and intuitive. But again, when we go too far into the shadow side, it can present as being vague and delusional, unrealistic, gullible, ungrounded, having poor boundaries, that sort of thing. And Pisces is where Pisces is in your chart. It's sort of like your connection to a higher power, non-judgment, transcending boundaries, dreams, mysticism. Really, really beautiful. So what we hope with this transit is that we tie together the positive elements of the planet and the sign. So try not to dip into these negative ones too much. So why everybody is so excited about Jupiter being in Pisces is because it's known as what we call exalted. And this means that it's very, very comfortable in Pisces and brings blessings. And that's because Jupiter was the traditional ruler of Pisces. So it's like when you go to a friend's house and you know your way around and you're very comfortable going to the fridge to help yourself for food and that sort of thing. Like that's kind of like what it means when a planet is exalted in a sign. It's just very comfortable there. It's not its home, but it might as well be. So things to expect from this transit, if we're tapping into all the positive traits of the planet and the sign, is that it will help us think beyond what is possible. Using that Piscean imagination and that sense of optimism and expansion from Jupiter, it's going to open us up to new possibilities. We'll get some new energy flowing, and we might feel unstoppable and optimistic that things are looking up. Like we've had some pretty rough years collectively with COVID. So, last year Jupiter was in Capricorn, and it doesn't necessarily really like being in Capricorn. That's in its fall, which means, Capricorn is all about boundaries, and Jupiter, its wings feel a little bit clipped in Capricorn. And so we didn't quite get the full benefit of it. Jupiter in Aquarius, there's a little bit more optimism going, but it's still got a connection to Saturn in Aquarius. So now having Jupiter in a sign where it feels really comfortable, that's going to help open us up and help us feel a little bit more positive about life in the future. It's also going to bring a little bit more flow to life. So Pisces is a water sign, Jupiter is hot and wet. And what this means is that we, if we trust our intuition, we can pull opportunities towards us, and things can feel very easy. So this is all really lovely, beautiful things. We're not going to have one full year of Jupiter in Pisces. It's going to retrograde in and out of the sign. So what we have is just a few months. We've got the 14th of May to the 28th of July for this little first bite. So it's only going to hang around the first 2 degrees of Pisces. So if you have any planets 1 and 2 degrees Pisces, or any planets at 1 or 2 degrees of other signs, Jupiter is going to have an extra significant influence for you for the next couple of months. It begins its retrograde on the 20th of June, and then we'll head back into Aquarius on the 29th of July and finish its retrograde at 22 degrees Aquarius. And then it will move forward again, head into Pisces again on the 30th of December, so at the end of the year. And this is a chance for us to sort of pick up those themes again and make the most of it, because it will fly through Pisces until the 10th of May, and then it will enter Aries. And so then we've got a little bit of Jupiter in Aries action. And then it'll be retrograding back into Pisces from the 20th of October. It finishes its retrograde on the 23rd of November, and then it will move forward again, and we've got it until the end of 2022. So it's almost like we've got a little taste for a few months, And then 2022, we get a couple of extra bites. So make the most of these opportunities. So where it happens and what it means for you depends on where Pisces is in your birth chart, because we are all different. So if you know your chart already, you're probably quite familiar with the house that Pisces rules. If you don't, you can go to astro.com and enter your birth data. And if you look for the Pisces symbol on the outside, like this, you can then go and check the number in the wedge here. So in this example, I've got Pisces rules the 12th house, but it could be any of the 12. And you can also look to see if you have any planets in Pisces. So in this example, this person has Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus in Pisces. So that will all be activated probably next year based on the degrees of them. And yeah, you can see what else is around there. But just know if you do have planets in Pisces, you're going to get an extra boost of Jupiterian energy, depending on what the planet represents. So if we go through the houses, if Pisces rules your first house, this is the house of the self. And so having Jupiter here, you know, it is starting a new growth cycle in your life. It's a new expression of you. So, you know, it's a great time to pour your energy into yourself, gain new experiences, learn more about things that inspire you. And enjoy the increased self-confidence that comes from this transit. But just, you know, if we don't tip over too far and don't become bossy or overbearing, you know, always remember to sort of keep Jupiter within its limits. If Pisces rules your second house, that's your finances and values. So this is about increasing the things that you value. And understanding how you use your resources and using that understanding to grow your wealth and abundance. But just be careful that you don't overspend. Again, with that excess of Jupiter, you don't want to overstretch yourself. If Jupiter is going to transit your third house, this is your daily life and communication. So you're going to have opportunities to increase your contacts in your immediate surroundings, your neighborhood. You know, the third house is also sort of day trips. So, you know, you might have more opportunities to travel around. You might feel like exploring a little bit more. It's also the house of communication and learning. So your thought patterns might change. You might pick up some new studies. It's good for sibling relationships, brothers, sisters, cousins, you know, close family friends that you grew up with. So, you know, those will expand and those will help bring opportunities into your life. But just don't overcommit to projects. Know your limits. Don't overstretch yourself. If we look at the fourth house, if Pisces rules your fourth house, Jupiter here, it's going to help you be seeking some sort of inner peace and security. If you are at a point where you want to invest in real estate, this is a really good time. You know, really tap into your intuition here of like, well, what feels good. You know, you might be great at like tapping into the future growth market, make some good investments there. Just make sure that you're not going to, you know, you're not tipping into sort of the illusionary side of things. It's a good opportunity to clear up any domestic problems, or if you have issues with your parents, you can start to heal that relationship as well. Even if your parents have passed as well, like you can tap into it and heal it energetically and spiritually, because like having that Piscean vibe will help you connect with that ancestral healing. But, you know, it will help increase your self-confidence. And so don't be afraid of who you are and of expressing this, because the fourth house of home, it's very, very, very private. You might go through all of this and feel afraid of who you are and what you're becoming, but just have the confidence to step up. If Jupiter will be transiting your 5th house. This is creativity and joy. It's also romance, pleasure, hobbies. And so this is a great transit to help you be and express who you are and have this big creative expansion. Love relationships, if you're dating, will come into your life here. It's a really good time for personal growth. It's also the house of children. So if there are children in your life, your relationship will be improved with them. If you're trying to have a child, then this can, it's a great sort of energy to tap into there. But again, try not to be too overbearing with this transit in the 5th house. If it's going to be the 6th house of health and work, you're going to start making really good progress with your work and projects, and job opportunities might be falling your way, and people will start to recognize the work that you're doing. So, it's a good time to start to build your reputation. And again, it's going to be an excellent time for health and healing any sort of illness or injury that you have. But just be careful, because any overindulgence can lead to weight gain. If we look at the 6th house of health and Jupiter with expansion, it can be an expanding waistline. So just watch the sweets and the fatty food, and don't get too overindulgent there. If we have this transit in your 7th house, this is all about one-on-one relationships. So you'll be attracting relationships to show aspects of yourself and the world around you. And the opportunities that are coming to you will come through other people. So it's all about your networks that you're starting to build. You might attract a partner who has a different background to you. And, the 7th house is also linked with the law. So this can be very favorable if you've got any legal matters in your life, but just don't ask for more than what you expect to get, that Jupiterian thing of expansion. Just make sure that you are very thorough in your dealings, and that you are being fair and just with what you're asking for. If the transit is in your 8th house, this is shared resources and power. The occult is also in here. Sometimes this transit can bring an inheritance if that is something that, is a life event for you, if someone passes. But you can also benefit from other people's resources in a good way, like maybe in a business sense, you can attract more money from your customers. It's good for creating business partnerships here where you have to pool your resources. If you want money, people will be quite happy to give it to you, be able to attract it from a bank, for instance, a bank loan. It's also a good time to heal any sort of psychological stress that you've been going through, or have a spiritual regeneration here as well, especially if we look at the Piscean aspect, which is very spiritual, very connected there. So you might feel like there's this transformation, this growth, and this shedding. So there's a lot of shedding and transformation which happens in the 8th house. If the transit's in the 9th, this is all about travel and higher learning. So you want to be growing your consciousness and your knowledge. You'll be seeking out information, reading books, finding all the knowledge that you can. You might start studying something new. You might start teaching to others. You might be stepping into that part of your life. This is also excellent for writers because the 9th house rules publishing. So if you have some writing that you've been wanting to get a book deal for or be published, this is a great time to start that process or to get that into the hands of the agents and get things moving. Jupiter in the 9th house also has opportunities for travel overseas. Might not be happening this year, but maybe next year things will be opening up and you'll get a chance to go overseas. Again, just as a warning, you can have a tendency to be smug or self-righteous with this transit. So just again, pull back and tap into your intuition, that groundiness and what's real. If the transit is happening in your 10th house of career, You know, this is just a really great boost with your profession, social status, reputation. It'll be growing all of that recognition for your accomplishments. Again, it has a connection with overseas because Jupiter is travel. So might have some new work connections opening up through overseas channels. But again, just watch your ego, because again, your ego might be feeling really awesome with all of this recognition. So, you know, just keep it in check. Don't let it expand too much. If the transit goes through your 11th house, this is your community. So we're looking at your hopes, ideals, wishes for the future, how you want to grow them, what are your goals. Again, it's the house of community. So don't try and do it alone. Don't act selfishly. Use your support, your networks, your friendship groups, your community, and also act from a place of how is this going to help others. Think about the greater collective, and you know, you can start to create some really great projects to pull your gifts together and to help others. And if we go to the 12th house, it's the subconscious. So this is Pisces' natural house. So it's all about spiritual truth and wisdom here, and you know, bringing in that compassion and empathy, and like really getting into meaning and healing any sort of subconscious things that are going on, any sort of self-sabotage. You might attract a spiritual teacher or become one for another person. And yeah, you're just going to be bringing more comfort and support into your life here. So another good way to sort of think about how the transits will play out for you is to look back at the years when Jupiter has been in Pisces. So like I said, every 12 years we have this transit in our lives. So if you keep a diary, have a look back at one from 12 years ago. I go back and look at my Facebook feed because that's really useful, I guess, up to a point until the time I joined Facebook. But it's really good at sort of reminding me of what happened in my life at that time. So the last transit was in 2010. There was one from January to June, and then September to January. So there again was a retrograde that happened. But if I think back at what happened in 2010, I changed jobs twice. So this opportunity came up where I was working, they created a new role, which was kind of something that I'd manifested, and they offered it to me. And so I took this new role. I also started studying, and it was linked to the profession I was in. I was working in book publishing, and I started studying publishing and editing to get more of a grasp of the industry. I had a bit of travel happening with my work there. So, you know, this is all 6th house stuff. It was like work being recognized by my superiors and given this job. And then at the end of 2010, I actually changed companies and went into a different role within publishing still. So, and I had a couple of, I went to Mexico, I had lots of interstate travel. So yeah, it was just a big time of being recognized for the work I was doing and growing my career and my skill set, and traveling as part of work. So think back to what was happening for you, and you know, these things might start to show up and you'll start to recognize them and know which opportunities are coming to you and what to take. Again, 1998, I was in year 10. So I did have I went overseas on a school trip to Japan as part of that. And I actually got my first part-time job during this transit as well. So yeah, it was kind of like, again, starting work, starting that travel. And I guess it was travel related to the work at school that I was doing. 1986, I was 3, so I really don't remember that. But yeah, depending on your age, you can look back and think about what was happening for you then. So finally, just enjoy the transit. If you want to know a little bit more about how the transit will play out for you, depending on the aspects that Jupiter will make into other planets, book a reading. There's this link there, or else in my profile, you can find it. Sign up to my mailing list, and then you'll get other updates and things in your inbox. And when you sign up, you also get a free calendar which shows you the transits, the moons, all that sort of retrograde fun stuff. So you can keep an eye on things and hang out with me on the socials. Those are my handles for Instagram and Facebook. They're the ones that I'm kind of on the most. So yeah, hope to see you soon and enjoy Jupiter in Pisces. See ya.